Hello everybody, my name is Pixel, and today on the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel we're going to be taking a look at 7 competitive shooters running at competitive settings at 1080p on our brand new Sapphire Pulse RX 7600 graphics card. In the coming days we're also going to be taking a look at a bunch of in-game benchmarks as well as some gameplay from a handful of recently released titles. However, since one of the RX 7600's most appealing use cases is high refresh rate 1080p gaming, which is also unlikely to be covered by more mainstream outlets, I thought that this would be a great place to start off with our coverage. As always, all the footage in this video was recorded using AMD Relive, and the performance overlay is provided by River Statistics server. So, with all that said, let's get right to it. Okay, so the first game that we're going to be taking a look at today is Rainbow Six Siege. Now, since this isn't a game that I've got a lot of personal experience with, I base my competitive settings off recommendations from some currently competing players. These basically meant lowering everything barring LOD quality, which I kept at ultra, and shadows, which I kept at medium. Performance during the built-in benchmark mainly stuck between around 300 and 500 frames per second, which is easily enough to keep a 240Hz monitor well and truly fed. During actual gameplay we did see these numbers compress a little, resulting in some pretty tight averages around 350 to 400 frames per second.
Minutes. Double kill. 3 kills. Stay focused. You've wandered away from your target. Loading mag!
Once upon a time, I used to actually be fairly decent at Overwatch, but how times change. I tried putting the game through its paces a few different ways here. First off, I ran a sort of simulated teamfight benchmark that I found on the workshop, and that was indicating that we should be looking at an average frame rate somewhere around 400. I even came to a similar conclusion during a gun game deathmatch, which I've personally found to be a great way to stress test the entire system for performance testing. However, when it came to actual gameplay, I'd say that our performance was actually much closer to 500 FPS on average, and honestly the game felt great, and at this level of performance, the only thing letting me down was my age and lack of practice. I don't really have too much to say about Valorant. You see, despite playing a ton of multiplayer shooters over the years, I never really got into search and destroy game modes. Not because I don't like them, but simply because I was always focused on something different. Here we can expect to see an average frame rate well above 500, and the game, as you would expect, felt super responsive and snappy. Back when it first launched, I dumped a bunch of time into Apex Legends, and so going back to it today to capture this footage kinda caught me by surprise. Not because of the performance, that was great, I just didn't remember the gunplay to feel so, dare I say, strange. I found that the weapons had this sort of airsoft / paintball feel to them, which is not a bad thing by any means, but it's certainly somewhat unique. Again, when it came to competitive settings for Modern Warfare 2 / Warzone, I basically just copied what the pros are using. These settings equated to around 170 FPS according to the game's built-in benchmark, which actually does seem to line up pretty closely with my own experience in multiplayer. Warzone, however, does have a slightly higher requirement, meaning that our average frame rate generally seems to hover between around 120 and 160 FPS. Whilst this is a fair bit lower than the other games tested today, this is totally expected since Warzone is generally very demanding, and so taking this into consideration, I'm very happy with the results here.
taking Bravo.
Just like with Valorant, I don't really have too much to say about CSGO as it's not really a game that I've spent too much time with. However, according to the workshop benchmark, we seem to be averaging 604 FPS over the course of the benchmark, which does appear to be accurate. It runs amazing. And last but certainly not least, we have Fortnite. Here, I primarily tested the Team Rumble game mode since I found that this is pretty much the best way of testing performance during actual combat. Whilst I could just drop down into an empty section of the map and show you better performance than what we have here, in reality performance only really means something when it can literally be the difference between winning and losing a gunfight. On average, our performance was sticking mostly between around 250 and 350 FPS, with the lows generally being dictated by CPU limitations and not the graphics card. Now obviously that average is going to be way more variable when we start to take into consider some of the custom experiences now available within Fortnite, but even then, whilst I did come across modes that did bring those averages down a bit, I only actually noticed that during this editing process and it had no impact on my enjoyment and most importantly ability during actual gameplay.
You're going nuts.
And there we have it, 7 competitive shooters running at competitive settings on our brand new Sapphire Pulse RX 7600. Personally, I was very pleasantly surprised by the performance on offer here. Whilst I believe it's become pretty much the standard to focus the GPU's recommendation on its ability to hit those 60 FPS targets, for me, especially in multiplayer games, I'm really looking to beat out 120 FPS since the increased smoothness and latency reductions are what is required if you don't want to find yourself at a legitimate competitive disadvantage, and the RX 6700 is able to provide that in all the games tested today. If you'd like to see some more info on the Sapphire Pulse RX 6700, be sure to check out the link in the description to this video. Also, if you've got any questions, suggestions or feedback, you can let me know in the comment section down below. And finally, if you've not done so already, don't forget to slap that subscribe button so you'll be notified of our future uploads. For now though, from myself and everybody here at the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll catch you later, bye bye.